Well, it's official. We are definitely living in the future at this present moment. There's a lot of shit going on right now. Um, in one story that I just read, vertical farming is actually taken off. It's taken off. They've been talking about it for a very long time, but apparently places are seriously considering, cities are seriously considering now putting a vertical farm right outside the city limits, or even sometimes inside city limits. New York City, Dubai. There are places in South Korea who are thinking about implementing vertical farms within their countries. This is a real thing, people. And not only that, but there's a lot of advantages to vertical farming. And that's the reason why there are countries and states that are thinking about implementing them. Apparently, they're really, really efficient. They save 95% of the water, or they conserve 95% less water than a traditional farm would save, simply because they recycle all the water through the system. So you have the vertical farm. Well, actually, it's like the vertical farm, and then there's the plants on the shelves, and then their roots are kind of dangling, and then they just sort of spray, not sort of, but they do. They like spray a mist of water and nutrients on directly onto the roots. The plant absorbs those nutrients in that water, and it just grows from there. And then they use the sun. They use light, not sunlight, obviously, but they use light, and they just grow. Now, once that water trickles down, they just filter it, and they just recycle it through the thing, so it conserves 95% less water than a traditional farming plant would do. They also conserve 50% less fertilizer, and they don't have zero herbicides or pesticides or insecticides or anything like that. So you don't technically have to wash your food if you don't really want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. It's actually pretty clean. What is that? Oh, Jesus. Oh, God, that's pretty unsightly. Anyways, but yeah, so that's another thing. There's the last and final thing, which is the one that causes a little bit of pushback among certain people, is this talking point that the vertical farm industry, there are barely even an industry at this point, but that they say that they can cut back on pollution because something called food transportation costs, or not really called food transportation cost, but it's called food transport costs. And they say that they can save a lot of money by eliminating the cost of food transport. Now, some people say the cost of food transport isn't actually that much. The vertical farm industry is just, trying to push too many advantages, and now they're over exaggerating, etc., etc. But honestly, and also the opposing side says that well, yeah, they're saving all this money, they're saving a lot of water, yeah, they're saving a lot of fertilizer, but they're also using sunlight, or they're also using electricity to light to grow the plants. Whereas they could just use free sunlight to grow the plants. So that's expensive. The production cost of making a facility like that is expensive, and things like that. And they're saying that the production costs and the utility bills would outweigh the costs, the savings associated with all the other things that I mentioned earlier. But I don't believe that, simply because due to climate change, or not even due to climate change, weather itself has the potential, and does frequently, eliminate billions of dollars worth of revenue for the food industry. Bad weather eliminates billions of dollars of revenue for the food industry every year. all across the world. If you calculate everything across the world, it ends up being billions of dollars of lost or of sunk profits. Now, if you were to place those food items into weather immune facilities such as a vertical farm, you don't lose those billions of dollars year to year. And when climate change hits, you're going to lose a lot more than billions. So over from now until 2050, the food industry is going to lose upwards of $1 trillion, probably well over $1 trillion by 2050 in just sunk costs due to climate change alone. So if you eliminate the greatest threat to your profits, you will increase profits, even though you're using more electricity to do it, and higher production costs in order to do it. It's a good investment, and that's why places like New York City and Seoul, South Korea are thinking seriously about this, especially and also I mentioned Dubai. So let's be excited about that. That's going to be very cool. With the argument that I just gave about we don't have to worry about climate change, or we don't have to worry about the high utility costs and production costs, because we make all that back due to the savings from that climate change would take from us. With that said, that's pretty much the end of the discussion. Vertical farms will be a real thing in the future, barring any sort of calamitous event, some sort of worldwide calamitous event where all of the world's rich countries suddenly are broke and destitute. So vertical farms, people, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. It sounds really cool. It looks really cool. But once it's here, we're not really even going to think about it, honestly. But it still is very cool. And it helps to solve a food crisis, but mostly an extinction crisis. It also helps to solve an extinction crisis because we use two-thirds of the land that people use, or that people reside on, is really used for agricultural purposes. If we were to take away the need to have all this agricultural land set aside for just us, then those animals that are going extinct, those animals that don't have habitats anymore and that feel boxed in because of the expansion of human cities, they can all now roam free. They can all now go into the extra 2/3 of land that is left for them, that we have always been occupying, that we're occupying right now. So that's a good thing, and they can thrive. They have space, and new species will flourish. Obviously, that would take an extremely long time. So, can you calculate that? Yeah, you should, but on a human standpoint, I suppose not. But anyways, so that's also a very good thing, because you just don't want a collapse in ecosystems. That is an extraordinarily disastrous thing for this planet to have to endure. So anything that eliminates that possibility a little bit less, we should all celebrate.